Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am your tube citizen, Jay Voodoo Child. It's official. Invictus 2023 is over. No more extensions. The new vehicles are still in concept sale, as well as the 2 starter pack specials. This video is my Invictus wrap-up, where I am focusing on just the CCU minigame and what, in my opinion, was good and less than during this year's event. Also, I will explain my reasoning, and this will touch on several elements of the CCU minigame that might be helpful for the community. So let's just jump right into it. Scrolling through here is the list of the 4 vehicles that have been introduced during this Invictus event. They are the Fury, what is it? I forget the name of it. A snub fighter. You have the MX, which is a missile variant of the same. You have the Lynx, which is a luxury vehicle. And then the Storm, which is a combat tank that is kind of focusing on faster movement to kind of get behind enemy lines and distract the enemy and, cause havoc. My particular channel doesn't really focus on doing reviews of these 2 things, so I will kind of skip ahead to something that my channel does talk about, and that is starter packs and CCU upgrades. Now, I guess before I really jump into this topic, I want to explain my point of view on what pledge money is doing for me. Originally, pledge money was a way to support the game, and in many ways it still supports the game. However, the game's already collected $500 million, and from all indications of the sales figures during this event, that number is growing quite well. And so I don't think that Cloud Imperium particularly needs more money from me in order to produce this game. Obviously, it will still require more money coming in, but I think new players can handle that sort of side of the things. And so what pledge money means to me is trading cash money for in-game time. So if I spent $45 here to get the C8 Pisces Invictus starter pack, I could save myself time in order not to grind in game to upgrade or to purchase the ship in game. And so it's just spend money to save time is how I view things. And how I view things like LTI, 10 years insurance, basically a character slot. I place different values on those objects as a time savings divided by the pledge money of what I think they cost. So as you can see here, the better of these 2 deals is obviously the 25% savings on the C8X. So we're just going to ignore the Titan, but we'll jump into the details here. And so for that $45, you get a 45 starting point on a CCU chain. So normally, because this is a cash purchase, if it was just a LTI token, then the actual cost would be $40 for this $45 vehicle. So I think this digital download, the starting money, and the paint skin here, that actually is costing $5 between this. And this is normally separately $3. This is normally $1. So technically, the digital download is a single dollar upgrade within this package. Now, I commonly just kind of group all these things, and that's $5. And to me, that's a fantastic deal. Because normally in another starter pack, the Auroras and Mustangs, you're spending $45 and you get a $30 vehicle out of the deal. You get $1,000 and you get some form of insurance, like maybe even as low as 3 months, could be 2 years, depending on when you get them. No paint job. So, basically you're getting these two things for $15. And so normally you could get that for credits or cash on the Aurora and Mustang. But because this is a cash only purchase here, I'm evaluating this as $5 for this digital download instead of $15. And I speculate that when character slots, when these digital downloads are sold separately, and that would be basically a character slot to your account, I think the price will jump from $15 possibly up to $35 if Squadrons 42 being bundled in a package like this and then being sold separately for twice a month plus $5. That $15 could possibly be $30 or $35. And right now, technically this is $1. So spending $1 for the same thing that you would have to buy separately for $35 possibly, or let's just say $15, that you're spending money, and the only negative to starting your CCU chains with a starter pack instead of an LTI token is you're getting 10 years insurance instead of lifetime insurance. And I think the difference in grind time between those two elements are insignificant when compared to spending $1 here, or maybe $30, $35, $15, whatever the price may be, to have an equal amount of time savings in the game by having that extra character slot. So that's a trade-off that I'm willing to take and kind of fits my mindset. If you have the budget to get an LTI token separately from your starter packs, and you can spend, whatever amount of money you want for a standalone character slot, then by all means get the best of both worlds. For me, this is just more efficient to me, a better value dollar per time savings in the game, in my opinion. Others strongly disagree with that. And the purpose of this channel is to offer alternatives or to explain some of the options. What are the good things about lifetime insurance? What are the less than, good things about them? What are the trade-offs of each of the options? And that way you can look at your financial budget, your time budget, how often do you think you'll be playing with other people? Because this is very much a multiplayer MMO game, because most every vehicle in this thing requires multiple people to run. And yeah, you can run with hired NPC crew, but an AI is never going to be as good as an actual human being. So there are social elements and how to crew your ships. And depending on your particular situation, your combination of all those aspects can lead you into two different directions than someone else. And that's perfectly fine. I want you to get the most you can out of this gaming experience. And so that's why I kind of go into details on explaining some of the things. And personally, I think starter packs as a start of a CCU chain is an excellent value in money, upfront money, and time in the game later on. So that's this. I'm really happy about this special. This is almost as good as the IAE Drake Cutter offer that was made. The major difference is that came with lifetime insurance, but was limited to one per account. This particular special is unlimited. You can fill up as many of your chains as you want with this particular offer. Now, it's still a big unknown about how many character slots we will have on our accounts. And so that's an issue. But so far, alternative accounts are still acceptable in this game, strangely enough. I've never seen another game where having alt accounts was okay, but Cloud Imperium doesn't have an issue with it at this point. So maybe you could have a chain per account and still be kind of taking care of that. I prefer to have all my accounts in one place. That way I can use the additional digital downloads as NPC crew to fill out the multi cruise ships. But, again, that's just my particular situation. So there was a workaround for getting multiple Drake Cutter with lifetime insurance. And it was the same price, $45 for a $45 ship. And with all this thing, it didn't come with a special skin, I don't believe. But the extra digital download, again, I think that deal had a $5 value for the extra digital download. But to get multiple Drake Cutters on your account, you would have to gift them from either an alt account or send your one and only into buyback, and then later on bring that back for the credits you got. But at that point, your starting block of your CCU chain will not be able to be giftable to elsewhere. And my advice is to always have an exit strategy. I've learned that from the group Info Runners, which, I think has a lot of fantastic helpers out there trying to do good things. We disagree strongly on some of these topics, starter packs being one of them. But I do want to give them credit for kind of, really hammering into me, always have an exit strategy, because I do believe in that, because everything is subject to change and everything will change as the game goes into further development. And so things may shift and turn out not the way you imagine it. And if it's not fitting your particular play style anymore, then you should look into getting something else. And possibly the game becomes something that's not really your cup of tea, and that's okay. Keeping the start of your CCU chains as giftable allows you to sell them off to someone else or give them away as you see fit. So it's a way of kind of recouping or, shifting things around that you can get rid of something that's no longer appealing to you. And I think that's valuable. So yes, you can get multiple Drake Cutter LTI starts for all your chains, but you lose that giftable option. But here it doesn't. And the only difference is 10 years insurance. Now, we can discuss, is 10 years insurance almost the same as lifetime insurance? Again, everyone's going to have a different answer to that. Ask yourself, how many games are you playing 10 years after it launches? And bear in mind, Star Citizen is not anywhere near launching right now. So you have those multiple years until launch date, then add in 10 years after that. Are you still going to be interested in Star Citizen after that point? Is that a lifetime for you? Many people, I would say, honestly, would say yes. Hardcore players, serious MMO grinders, if Star Citizen is the ultimate space simulator ever and nothing else replaces it, down the road during these 10 years, then yeah, maybe you are playing this game after all that time. But then comes to my second point about the differences is after 10 years of playing this game, how well off are you at that point? Are you still struggling to pay your bills? Are you still struggling to, come up with the cargo and pay for insurance on, all the different aspects, your upgrades, your cargo? Are you able to easily afford even a vast fleet of ships paying monthly insurance 10 years down the road? I would hope that you would. But, maybe this is a situation that you play it for a couple months and you put it down, and maybe 10 years down the road, you say, oh, well, hey, what about that Star Citizen? Or I've got this new graphics card. Let's see what the game looks like on this system. And you make it into the game and kind of be at a starting point so you don't have that build up wealth. But again, everyone has a different situation. Honestly, look at the way you play games. Look at where you are in life. Where are you going to be 10 years after this game launches? Is this lifetime insurance for you? Everyone's going to have a different answer. And that answer is the one you should pursue. So just hear the different options, figure out what is best for you, and maybe head in that direction. So that is the starter packs. Let me just do a quick review of the details on the 4 ships. So here's the little blurb. And the Fury is flight ready right now. So it is at the price that it will remain for the foreseeable future. The MX, the missile variant, also flight ready. The Lynx, flight ready. And the Storm is in concept. So this changes things. You might want to pick up some credit to get into that because it might see a price increase when it goes flight ready at whatever point that they are done development in the game and wish to introduce it to the persistent universe. So let me proceed on to kind of my CCU evaluations of Invictus. So here's just kind of how I view CCU chains. Here I have my starting point of the C8X plus digital download, or the Titan plus digital download. You're spending this amount of money and you're receiving this amount of savings. So obviously I like this better because even within this gap, you might be able to save $5 here and increase this to 20 as compared to 7 here. So I think getting up to this point, if you, that's another thing about creating chains. And let me save that point for later on. But I believe in this column I have everything that was introduced on day 11. They brought back, I believe, I forget how many they brought back. I forget the number. But also, these were also day 11s, but they were overlapping, so I put them out in separate columns. There were 5 of the daily specials that did not return. It was the Aquila, the Gladiator, the Red, and the Warlock. Am I missing one? And the Mercury. I also have indications of when they were introduced for a daily, but like the Caterpillar was its own, and the Hurricane was just on the day 11, the Vulture day 11, and the Gladius. And then way up here is a big jump. As you can see, I have a spread here, but is the A2. And let me get started on this because this is an end of the chain kind of special only. And I talked about this, I touched on this briefly in the short that I made for day one. And that is, on the surface, this is a 3-to-1 war bond offer. And, that's what we're dealing with right here. These are all war bond CCUs. You spend a certain amount of cash and then you get a certain discount on the price of the vehicle. There is currently nothing that you can CCU into that's above 750. There are maybe three others also at 750. They may see a jump in price later on, and you could at that point bridge the gap between this and something else. But for my money, I rather get links to that ship, and then if it goes up in price, it's this gravy for me at that point. I've already locked in the price at 750, those vehicles, and so I'm safe regardless of whether they remain at 750 or jump ahead. And I'll get this for nothing, where this jump would cost me more credits and or cash. So in order to be interested in this particular CCU, I think your goal is to have the big bad bomber of the game, and that is the A2. Now, one of the difficulties of this is the only vehicle that's at 650 right now is the BMM. And Alien Week is coming up in this month, later in this month. I forget the dates. But essentially, the BMM at these specials have been jumping $50 each time. I don't know whether it's going to jump $50 this month, but potentially it could. And so at that point, you still have locked in an A2, but your starting point is $700. And you've spent $25, and at that point, you're only saving $50. So, the value is reduced depending on if the BMM jumps in price. Now, Alien Week could keep at 650 and offer you a war bond offer. And at that point, it'd be good to, jump off on whatever do, and you could save, you can get another 3-to-1 ratio there, or 2-to-1, or, something like that, and have a very nice chain going up to the A2. But like I said, in order to pick up this thing, you really had to be interested in just getting the A2 and doing nothing else. And the A2 is not for me, but it may be your jam. And so if that is the goal of your CCU chain, then yeah, this was a good offer to have. So here are the other specials. So if you are a brand new player, and this is where I'll touch in that point I was mentioning earlier, playing the CCU minigame, the sooner you can get involved, the more savings that you're going to receive. The longer you can stay playing the CCU minigame, the more savings your chains can see. But that requires patience. And it may not necessarily be savings, because you are still spending money, $5 here, $5 here, $15 here. So one way to look at it is you are extending your pledge money. This is pledge money. This is pledge money. But for $15 purchase, you're getting a $35 value. So it's not really savings. You're just extending your pledge money. And I think anyone starting right now can have an achievable goal of doubling your pledge money and ship value and ship costs. And for me, I've had 4 special events. So 2 years that I've been playing the CCU minigame. And this particular one, I really didn't see that much. None of these really filled in any of my gaps right now. So basically, even with a year and a half, let's say, I am currently sitting at 61% savings, if you will, on my CCU chains. And, there are a couple gaps that I could possibly get lucky and fill in with a war bond offer. Some of the speculation CCUs may turn out fabulous and replace, mix up my chains to take that 61 even higher. And the more patience that I have, the more chances I have of increasing that percentage. But I think a reasonable goal that anyone can set is 50% savings. And, that I think is worthwhile playing this mini game. So if you're started off during Invictus and you had no credits in your account, picking up some of these daily specials when they're not overlapping something else. And, also you got to decide for yourself, how many chains do you really want? Is one good enough? Is 3? Is 5, 10, 20? Whatever your time and budget allows for spending money up front to save yourself time in game. You have to figure out that and go from there. So just spending new money, starting from zero money in the game so far, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on during this year's Invictus. And, we do have some overlap here, but there's not a whole lot of white spaces in between some of this stuff. And so, if you're looking at a Caterpillar, which is very good, or, up to these 350 ships, which are excellent, practically every one of them is excellent in one way or another. There's not a whole lot of white, even from this one special. And so, as you said, being patient, waiting for stuff that will fill in these gaps. And, maybe you can find a war bond offer on whatever you use here to get into the Hurricane. And maybe you can jump off from the Vulture to get into that. This is a very doable gap right here with a war bond offer. You get a 10 for 5. That's this right here. Again, you can get another deal here between the Ballista and the Vulture. So lots of good things. Gladius, you may only see a $5 value here. But, maybe this is a $5 gap for you right here. So this could be a good exchange. Starting for a brand new player, I think the offers right here were very interesting. And, for those who are starting the CCU minigame, please do not get disheartened by what you've already missed out on. Because the people that got those super savings were risking a lot more than you were on this game actually getting developed. They're spending hundreds of dollars for a concept. I mean, a dream at that point. But, we're 10 years into development right now, 10 and a half really. And it's looking very good that this game is going to be made. But a lot of these people that got these fantastic offers, deals in the early days, particularly with the Carrack or the Banu Merchantman, they started off at $250 or something like that, and now they're $650. So yeah, they have gone up considerably, and they didn't have to spend any money in between those gaps. But they were risking a whole lot of never seeing that $250 again, that you don't have to. And don't worry about what you've missed on, because there are going to be fantastic offers available in the future. And if you're patient enough to wait for them, you could see some really good savings. A 5-to-1 right here. That's a pretty good value. I think that's the best one of the special. Yeah. So, wait for these and you will save your money during those chains. And like I said, a reasonable goal, 50%. And, your pledge money is going twice as far at that value. I mean, that's a good deal. So please don't get discouraged by someone else getting a super offer, a super low price for an awesome vehicle that you're trying to get. But on the flip side of that is the FOMO. You have to get everything because it's only available for this day and then it will be gone. Well, let me tell you, the Eclipse, we had the exact same deal for an Invictus during IAE, 6 months ago. What was another one? I think we had this exact same deal for the Mercury back then. I believe we had the same deal for the Corsair because that went flight ready and just before IAE. And so they were offering basically its starter price, which is that $225. But anyway, a lot of these deals right here that you see will return. Sometimes a different type of deal will come up and it will be even better than what has come up before. So please do not get wrapped up in FOMO. Again, this game is nowhere near launch. We're nowhere near the point where we do have to finalize our chains and link everything together for those final ships. We're a long way off of that. So you have time to build these chains, to fill in the gaps, and to wait for the really super offers. In the past, I was only going for these types of deals. But, the 10 for 10s, I wouldn't get these. I mean, yeah, I could save $10, but there's generally something else that's going to come along in this range that would be better than a 1 for 1. And I'll wait for that. And I've been fairly successful on getting those eventually. So again, don't get wrapped up in the FOMO, but don't worry about what's gone on in the past. Now, one of the things that does kind of bum me out about this particular event is if you've been playing since maybe even as far as a year ago with the previous Invictus, but even at CitizenCon, you might have had availability to get the Corsair before it went flight ready and it jumped in price. So November 18th, 2022, at this particular patch, it went up 15% and $35. And it had a weird starting point for me. So I forget what I was jumping these off from. But I had to spend $15 to get into a Corsair at the 215. But I was able to do that because I was looking for these types of jumps with the, I don't have it right here, but these would be of concept CCU chains. And if you've been playing in the last, if you're playing the CCU minigame for the last 6 months, you likely have all three of these price jumps. So like I said, the Corsair had its deal last November. And then April 23rd of this year, on this patch, they announced that the Hurricane would be going up in price. And it was originally $195. But they immediately offered a war bond offer. So spend $5, save $10. And then at this date, it jumped an additional 15. And so for $5, you got a 25 jump there. And that's a nice jump. It's better than this 5 to 15 or this 10 for 20, in which it's bypassing these zones. The Vulture was a very interesting flight ready because, oops, that needed to be corrected. It did not go up 15%, like practically every other flight ready jump that there has been. There's been exceptions, but it's always been higher because it was a particularly good vehicle that they really wanted to put in an additional price, to correct the market, if you will. But the Vulture went up 25%. And at the time I asked in Info Runners, is this Cloud Imperium's way of dealing with insurance over the last 10 and a half years? And, the feedback I got is, well, one instance does not indicate a trend, which is true, but it could be 15% going forward. And maybe just the Vulture was a special one that got a 25% jump, but I'm starting to kind of look to see where 25% is on these flight ready, down the road launches, where that will get me in the chain. And maybe that will shuffle things around for me. But this particular one jumped up $25. So you got $35 here, $35, $25 here. I mean, you can't use them in the same chain here. But if you got these deals, if you've been involved in the last 6 months actively hunting for these types of deals and you landed these things, a lot that was offered during IAE is kind of useless for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of these specials are gone, and you're left with 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, it wiped out over half of the CCU's offers of this just from these 3 vehicles. And that's unfortunate. Actually, just from these 2, really. So, that lessens the value of what you could see in Invictus. And in fact, I didn't get any of these offers, except for this red. And this was only a special case. And this is just kind of like a backup CCU because I was able to link some things nicely together. And so I said, maybe I can work that somewhere. Maybe this deal would be better. But that's just an alternative for me. It's not something that, oh yes, this will save me money in my existing chains right now. This fills in the gap. So for me, again, I've been only doing in this for 2 years. None of this was good for me, except for I did pick up one C8X to start another chain with. So again, the value of what we saw in Invictus may be less for you, depending on how long you have, how developed your chains are, and where the gaps are. So here I want to talk about speculation CCUs. And this is where a vehicle that has not been released into the game will expect to go up 15%, possibly even 25%. And so what I recommend is spending credits, if you have it, to go from something like right here, the Razor to the Retaliator, spend 15 credits or 5 credits, excuse me. And when this goes flight ready, it could jump up to this point, possibly even just point. And I think the Retaliator, this is the base version. I think this is a woeful undervalued at 150. And I think Cloud Imperium thinks that this and the base Endeavor deserve a price bump even above 25%. So I could see this far exceeding the SRV, which has the same starting off point, jumping off point. But this may be a better fit for my particular chains than whatever this ends up to be. And so I have both of these. And again, it's just wait to see what the final jumps are. This made a jump when it went flight ready. After that point, you can start saying, okay, well, how do my existing Warbond offers and how do my other, flight readies, CCUs, how does the jigsaw puzzle match up? Can you play Tetris and get even more savings out of your chains? That's something that's the fun aspect of this for me, at least. So, you have several, you have a couple more in this range here that I skip over. But as you can see here, the numbers that you can exceed here far above what the savings you get for a similar Warbond offer. Now, for new players that have zero amount of money in the game, everything is a cash purchase. So the Warbonds are cash only. These are credits only, but if you don't have any credits, then you would have to spend $5 cash to get this particular jump in order to potentially get, one of these two, maybe even more with the Retaliator on something. And you don't know where these are going to end. So you can't really say, okay, I'm going to skip on the Hurricane because I don't know whether the SRV is going to jump 15% or 25%. So maybe you get the Hurricane and maybe it jumps up to 25. It's like, okay, I can no longer use this Hurricane Warbond offer. So I might try and sell this off to someone, or maybe just put it in buyback and get that $5 in credit. And hopefully, you already have this spent, so you can kind of lock in the price before it jumps up. That's the whole point of these speculation CCUs, is you're locking in the price of these vehicles that have not been released to the game yet. And, they will jump in price. How much is to be expected? And when we get down here, whether they round up or down, depending on its percentage, is kind of questionable. I have a lot of my chains dependent on this particular price jump only going up $5. So if it is 25%, or if this rounds up, I could have a lot of chains in trouble, and I'd have to go to some alternatives which are not as good in value as what I have set up if the X-Force only goes up $5. Now, this is in between a $5 jump and a $10 jump for just a 15%. And the reason why I think it's only going to be a $5 jump is because this is a variant of the X1 base. And so you have the X1 base, the X1 velocity, and the force. And they're all $5 apart. I think after they go flight ready all at the same time, they're still going to be $5 apart. And so this was obviously going to be around down to 50. So if this is 55, then I suspect this is going to be 55. And that's where I think, this will be. But so there are rounding issues that could shift things around, and that's, again, it's all speculation on what the price is going to do and having the patience to see what it does, because sometimes you can get a big 25% jump out of nowhere. I was only anticipating this for 15%. Here is the red, and the reason why I got the red on day 10 is because one of my speculation CCUs that I already have is a red to a whole B. And as the whole B is on release, it could jump up to 160 here or 175 if it got that 25% jump. And so I already have this nice CCU chain. So I got a war bond offer, and I just happened to pick the Nova. And lucky for me, the Nova came back on day 11. So on day 11, I got a Nova and jumped off from the black. So I spent 5 in cash, or it's going to be 10 in cash to get a 10 value here. And then also on day 11 was the Gladius. So I'd spent 10 credit to go from the Gladius to the black, lock in this price, this range. And then I got the CCU for the Gladius, the war bond. And I'm jumping off from the Rock DS, I don't know if down the road I might get another war bond offer for this. Again, patience will give you more options. So that's just kind of a nice little chain that I built up. If I am lucky, and the whole B goes up 25%, I'm just $5 away from the Super Hornet. And then every year is at Coromar, which is on Valentine's Day, we'll get this Heartseeker War Bond offer. Spend 5, get $10 off. And that sits in right underneath the Vulcan, which is also unreleased and could jump 15-25%. And if it's still 25%, then you're in spitting difference to this Mercury right here. And so I have some Mercuries to Apollo Meds, and that could go up to 25% or somewhere in here, and I may get into these ships. And so this little alternative CCU chain that I only got in Invictus could turn out to be a very nice savings. If indeed these things start jumping 25%, I've kind of already prepared myself to see some big savings by relying a lot on speculation CCUs and not so much the war bonds. But again, all possible by getting these 3 war bonds, or actually these 4. And that's, something that's interesting for me. And so I went ahead and started creating that. And that is, the CCU minigame. It's looking at these things, figuring out where you want to end up at, and being flexible enough to change that target as things develop. Maybe that target you fall out of love with because of the strange way that they shifted the development. It no longer does the thing you want it to do. Then, pick a different vehicle, and that will change up your chains, obviously, to a due number. And kind of be flexible and adapt to the situations and find the thing that makes you happy in the game. And that's kind of what I wanted to say about this Invictus. Let me see if there's any other points that I'm figuring. I probably am. But we'll save that for another video. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please comment below your impressions of and what you think are the best offers of this Invictus. Going forward, I'm not sure how active this channel is going to be until IAE later in November. But please subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified of when I do drop new videos. Thank you for watching, and enjoy.